Hey, how's it going? I am Jack, and this is Subjectively Speaking, the show where we discuss character design through a subjective lens. And all that means, guys, is that a lot of what I'll be saying today is my opinion, so please leave your thoughts on what we talk about in the video down in the comments and start a conversation. While you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe, it really means a lot, guys. Oh, and be sure to check out our sponsor, Blick. Click the link in the description for great deals on art supplies from their website. And one last thing real quick, thank you guys so much for 500 subscribers. I know it might not seem like much, but it's really a huge milestone for everyone here at Subjectively. You guys are great, and we promise to keep the content coming every week for all of you. Now, we got that out of the way, and let's dive into the video. Today we'll be talking about a game that, in my opinion, is underappreciated by a lot of people. Subnautica has been playable for several years, although officially it wasn't released as a full game until January of 2018. Now, a sequel to the underwater survival game called Subnautica Below Zero has just been released in an early test mode, and already has exceeded my expectations for what a sequel to this game could look like. Because Below Zero isn't really a finished game yet, we're only going to talk about the OG Subnautica in this video. Subnautica, like a lot of games in the survival genre, employs the player's wits, insights, and ability to react to dire situations. You play as a maroon spaceship mechanic, stranded on a planet the surface of which is 99% water. As you desperately search for other survivors of your ship's crash, you learn the dark secrets of Altera, the company you work for, and explore the infinite mysteries of the strange planet you now find yourself on. The level of immersion the game is able to create is imperative to the player's comprehension and enjoyment of the game, as it is in any survival game. If the driving motivation for the player is to survive, then the game must be successful enough in its ability to convince the player that they are indeed living in the world of the game, and have them believe that the threat of death is very much a real consequence of their actions. A lot of survival games rely heavily on their gameplay to create this level of player immersion, and the best games in the genre can engross the player in their world with minimal visual elements. But Subnautica is different. While the game mechanics still play an important role in immersing the player, the key element in creating a believable world falls to the art direction of the game. It should go without saying that a game with a keen eye for visual design is going to be very successful in immersing a player, and Subnautica is one of the finest examples of world building that I've ever experienced in a game. The pacing, along with a loosely structured story, allows the player to explore the planet of 4546b at their own pace, and to the extent of their comfort. It took me probably around 2 months to beat this game. I'm kind of a careful player, and I like to take my time exploring open worlds, and to my delight, there was neither a nook nor cranny that I could not dive into. This kind of openness ties in perfectly with the directional motif of the ocean, which to humans is as vast and mysterious as space itself, perhaps even more so. The deep seas of our own planet play host to creatures as alien as any character designer could dream up, and when the rules dictating what can or can't exist on Earth are stretched to the point of break, that's when we start to see some really crazy character design. But hold on, you never encounter another character in Subnautica, right? The player character is the only human on the planet, and all other interactions with people happen entirely through voice recordings or radio transmissions. Well, character design doesn't always mean human design. In fact, some of my favorite character designs aren't even humans at all. Creature design is an infinitely broad subgenre of character design. From a professional point of view, there really isn't even a difference between character design and creature design. It's really all one area of concept. But for our sake, in this video, we'll use creature design to refer to the character design of any living organic being that is not explicitly human. Basically, anything that crawls, climbs, slithers, flies, or all the weird things in between. We're talking kaijus, Pokemon, Koopas, whatever this thing is. And of course, the numerous alien lifeforms inhabiting planet 4546b. Creature design has existed in storytelling for millennia, pretty much since the first story was told. Back when humans were very much a part of the natural food chain, creatures were extremely relevant to us, and you could bet that old Grandpa Ooga had some great stories about the giant cave bear that took his leg. All the way up through human evolution, cultures from around the world have dreamt up incredible creature designs, fantastic beings that represent our deepest fears or our greatest aspirations. Some stories attribute such creatures to the creation of our universe, while others are responsible for horrific natural tragedies. As we grow as a species, our experiences, combined with the stories of the generations that came before us, inspire even more bizarre and unique designs that all play an important role in the stories that they originate from. And of course, some creatures are more memorable than others. Just because someone uses an imaginary monster to personify an intangible concept doesn't mean they'll do it successfully. A lot of the time people think that using a mythical creature like a dragon or a troll is an easy way to cheese a reaction out of the audience, based off of our preconceptions of the tropes associated with such creatures. But if you want to make something as iconic as, say, Godzilla or a xenomorph, there has to be a lot more to your initial concept than just fear. The xenomorph, for example, has several layers of concept behind its design. One of those concepts being a reappropriation of phallic imagery with intent to play off of male insecurity and evoke subliminal discomfort in men. This concept played an important part in the visual design of the creature, and it's the reason for its iconic elongated head. Yeah, be sure to bring that one up at your next family dinner conversation. I could go on and on about awesome creature design and why it's successful and important, and I could list so many different examples, but basically, when applied correctly, creature design is used to bridge the gap between intangible concepts and physical representation. In Subnautica, the themes represented by the creatures you encounter in the game are those of curiosity, fear, and exploration. What is friend? What is foe? And what is food? They say curiosity killed the cat. What effect does it have on a player? Well, in Subnautica, if you're not careful, you might end up like the cat. But what's cool about the game is that the risk of losing your life is often outweighed by the reward of discovering something new. Be it a blueprint to construct a new piece of technology, a clue uncovering more of the lore, or an entirely new ecosystem with boundless potential for discovery. We as players are encouraged to risk it all to satisfy our curiosity and learn more, and it usually pays off. As the player moves their way through this world, poking and prodding and figuring out what's what, it's important that they know at a glance which creatures are friends, which creatures are foes, and which ones are food. I mean, this is a survival game after all. We gotta eat. When we first dive into the game, no pun intended, we're instantly surrounded by new creatures, but no apparent threat is imminent. The aliens that we see, though unlike anything on Earth, are small, brightly colored, and designed with rounded silhouettes. These visual clues indicate to a new player that these creatures pose no threat to them, and the next logical step is to interact with them and see how they can help us survive. Well, okay, it's not very voluntary help, but that's the food chain. Sorry, little guy. As the player continues through the game and becomes more comfortable with the mechanics, more and more creatures are gradually introduced. Some, like the crashfish, warn us instantaneously of their danger with their bright red color and the loud, whining scream they let out right before they explode next to your head. Others take some figuring out, like the gasopod, for example. It's the first beast you encounter that's actually larger than yourself, so instantly you as the player will become wary. But in this case, just a brief investigation of the animal will reveal that despite their size, they have no intention of attacking you. They are, however, capable of dealing damage, so their size was important in translating to the player that a threat exists, albeit a benign one. And of course, it doesn't take long to figure out that the creatures with the big mouths and the sharp teeth are the ones that will try to take a bite out of you. Based off of prehistoric marine reptiles with some inspiration from modern-day fish like the alligator gar, the stalker won't hesitate to let you know that it is higher on the food chain. But you don't really know what big is until you see a leviathan. A class of apex predators of unearthly proportions. If you see one of these things, run. Unless it's a reefback, they're cool. The leviathans are used to indicate an area of significance that requires further and tentative exploration, or as a form of a barrier to signify to a player that they can't go any further. Even open worlds have to end somewhere. They're pretty much the closest thing to final bosses that Subnautica has. But there are a lot of spoilers involved with these things, so just go play the game. So in summary, size, color, and shape are all crucial elements of character design that are used to aid the player in understanding an alien world. Because no matter what planet you're on, humans have an uncanny ability to tell which things are going to kill and eat you. One last fun thing Subnautica does with its creature design, it breaks all the conventions that it establishes with the player. You see, like I said earlier, this is a game about exploration and curiosity. You can interact with these creatures in any way you see fit. If you want to eat them, go ahead. If you need to fight back to avoid being eaten, by all means. But just because something wants to eat you doesn't mean it will. Subnautica's unique and somewhat hidden mechanic of taming and domesticating alien life is one of the most ingenious thematic mechanics I have ever seen incorporated in a game. It allows for even deeper immersion of the player in the world by customizing each player's experience with the game, and the true nature of each person playing will soon come to light, depending on the choices that they make throughout the course of the story. And those choices can start with the smallest, seemingly insignificant creatures. We may be trying to survive, but why let that take away our humanity? It might be just what this planet needs. In Subnautica, like so many games with a focus on creatures and monsters, the design of each beast is crucial to the player's understanding of the game's tones and themes. Compare a game like Doom to Subnautica. Both take place in alien worlds, and both have a ton of player interactions with strange creatures, but obviously they are very different games. There's no questioning on the player's part that the creatures in Doom must be eliminated. I mean, there are no opportunities for interactions that don't end in someone getting blown up, which for me is kinda sad. But this is a gory first-person shooter. The game's focus has always been on death and destruction, and it would be confusing thematically if the creatures in the game reflected anything but those themes. A game with characters that are not human in it needs to be able to treat those creatures with the same level of care and design as they would a human character. They're necessary in solidifying the themes of the game and explaining to the player how to play it. Subnautica checks every box of good creature design. The aliens of Planet 4546b are designed using the most bizarre features of animals from Earth that we're familiar with additional creative liberties used to convey character intent and heighten the level of curiosity in the player. The opportunity to explore a world no one has ever seen before is an experience that most people would say has been unattainable since the last corners of the map were filled in. But Subnautica, through immensely successful immersion, has been able to recreate that sensation in a way so believable, you'll forget that you're even playing a game. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And be sure to check out some of our other videos. Also, we would love to see some of your art. Share on our Instagram artwork we've inspired you to make, and we'll feature it in a future video. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.